Hi, I'm Anthony Casey, and welcome to episode 13 of Training Thought and Truth. Truth. I'm here with Craig Coffey, and Craig runs a class in Carlow called Exercise Autism, and it's currently doing his PhD in the effects of exercise intervention on children with autism. I got that correct, didn't I?
Yeah, you did, yeah.
So how did you become involved in exercise autism?
So I suppose it all came from the research masters, which has now been transferred into a PhD, and that started 3 years ago now. So it came about from there. I suppose during the summer, I kind of found an area that children with autism didn't or couldn't partake in sport, or there wasn't as much help for them in sports. Like take, for example, GAA with a higher number of kids in the field, but it's the same for every sport. It's kind of hard to get a ratio of like a low number of kids to a high number of adults who might need some extra needs, be that sensory, behavioural, communication. So that's why Exercise and Autism came about, to try and break down the exercise movements for the children, to try and show them how to do the exercise, and then try and progress it to a game, and hopefully then from that they could actually go into more sports that is on weekly for every children or every child in the country, I suppose.
And the idea is the kind of younger age you catch them, like they build up the basics, then basically is it, and they can.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I have children coming to me now a couple of weeks, and before I even tell them or show them what we're going to do, by just seeing an object, they can tell me what we're going to do. And like even something as simple as keeping a balloon up in the air, after a couple of weeks, that can be progressed to trying to keep it up with another individual, and then progress it to a volleyball type exercise. So that child then can move from just keeping a balloon up in the air into volleyball.
Yeah, okay, very good. And how long are you up and running here? It's obviously the room where you do the exercise in.
Yeah, so every Saturday exercises in here, 12:30 to 1:30 is the first class, and then 1:30 to 2:30, and we've been going since July the 6th. So I think it's around 16 or 17 Saturdays is what we have completed so far, and we have another 7 then before Christmas.
Can you tell me, right, so basically, if you're to define what autism is for people, because I know my understanding of autism is, and this is just from reading different, because I know there's a lot of different things out there sometimes. So my understanding of it was that it employs individuals with issues in 3 main areas: communication, social interaction, and range of interests. But can you give a better definition?
Yeah, so it's a developmental disability, and 1 in 59 children actually have autism at the minute, and that's the most recent counts. So like you said, deficits in communication, social interaction, and then some stereotypical behaviours. So like when you look at the definition of autism, I suppose everyone does have some sort of autism, or they're on the spectrum somewhere. But then obviously that ranges in severity. So like the kids that I'm dealing with would be kind of higher on the spectrum, so it'd be moderate to severe children with autism. And that stemmed from, I suppose, the autism units in Ireland. And they are the children who have been tested psychologically by a doctor, and then need extra assistance or are put into an autism unit as part of a mainstream school, just to help them cope better with school. But it would be them 3 kind of areas that would be the main areas that you would find a child with autism. And even looking at some like questionnaires that I've been using in some of the schools. Like simple things like walking on tiptoes would be something that a child with autism would do. Some stimulating behaviours like vocalisation, so screaming or shouting, or even flapping hands by the face or its sides. They'd be some of the things you would see with a child with autism.
Yeah, and because it's funny when you said the 1 in 58, is it?
1 in 59.
1 in 59, because I remember I was looking up a few different things on this, and there's TED Talks on it, and every year that it seems to change, but obviously they say autism is being diagnosed an awful lot more now. Oh yeah. So they're saying that there's a lot more people with autism now, but I think it's probably rather we're understanding it, or we're catching it now.
Yeah.
We know what we're looking for now. We didn't know what autism was years ago, because I had the number 1 in 88. I think that was from a video put up 2 years ago or something like that. So obviously now it's 1 in 59, which is a lot more.
Yeah. And
then I also came across the fact that the boys are affected 4-to-1 ratio as well, and I don't know why. There's a lot of there's a lot of things where they're still learning about it, I suppose. And it's new as a research kind of topic almost.
Oh yeah, it definitely is a new area, and I suppose that's where my master's and PhD is coming into it. That there's a lot of new areas that haven't been researched at the minute, and like you said, more boys are being found to have autism, and I suppose that could be from girls developing a lot quicker than boys. So it's kind of harder to see in a girl, and it's caught later. I know from my classes and the research that I've been doing over the last 2-3 years, I've had a lot more boys in my classes than girls. So it is true that fact is true. And like autism is increasing every year, but I don't think it's that people are just being born with autism now. It is just an understanding of it, and there's more categories coming into it, and I suppose we're finding out more and more symptoms of autism.
Yeah, it's true. And I was trying to look up some causes, and it was saying things like some causes they think maybe are genetic, the father's age when the child's conceived, they think some chemicals like in the epileptic medication, stuff like that, and they obviously shut down that there was a big idea that vaccinations had something to do with it, but that's not true apparently. Yeah,
and like the vaccinations, I suppose, are getting a big hit at the minute, but like when we were younger, everyone got the vaccinations, but like it's not like more of us were being diagnosed with autism. It's just that it can be caught in some people early, and then some people are getting caught later with it or being diagnosed later. But it is just down to doctors and individuals knowing what it is and how it, I suppose, develops in everyone. But like, if you looked at a list of 100 different symptoms of autism, you could probably pick out 10, 20, 30 that you might relate to, or that you could see in yourself. And even I've looked at lists and I've said, well, 50% of them are me or have been me as a child growing up, but like I haven't been diagnosed with autism. So I suppose we are all on the spectrum at some stage.
The spectrum is quite large, isn't it? Even when I was looking up, I was doing a little bit of research for this talk, and I was thinking to myself, well, I do that,
Yeah, exactly.
Like you said, like it's so broad, but there was a couple of things I did realise, that there's a lack of ability to abstract, and maybe this is more on a severe scale of autism. I was reading the example was if, familiarity is obviously very important for children with autism, but if they're used to a kitchen area, and if you go and move a chair one day, it's like a different room to them, where it's the same kitchen for us, just with the chair moved. Or to them, it's like a completely different space.
Yeah, and just I suppose their space, what they know and what's familiar to them is all they know really. And when you do change it up, there is a big upset, and that would be one thing that I bring into my classes is kind of a routine. So every day we'll try and start with the same game, or we'll start in the same position. So in the middle of the hall here, I put down mats, and that's where we all join. And when I sit down, and Emma, my volunteer, sits down as well, all the kids know that we're starting now, so they come and sit down, and then we'll explain the first game to them. So it's a familiarity and a routine that the kids like.
Yeah, you're comfortable with it.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And for that reason, would placing the equipment in the same place each time, or would that come into it at all?
It does and it doesn't. One big thing that I have found out the hard way, I suppose, is that when you are setting up for the exercise classes, you can't set up ahead of time. Some children don't like things out of place, and they'll put it back. So I've often had hoops out here half an hour before the class starts, and one child will walk straight in, pick up all the hoops and put them back to where they usually are. And that child won't let the hoops be put out until he or she knows that that's what we're going to do. So I suppose placing the equipment, you can't do it beforehand, but when the class does start, yeah, you can place it in the same position or the same part of the room, and yes, familiarity that way, the child will know what we're going to do and will understand it a small bit better than if you start moving things around as time goes on, I suppose.
Yeah. And you said your class runs off a process of visual modelling and video.
Yeah.
Is that for your schedule? Can you explain exactly what you mean by that?
Yeah, so beforehand, either myself or we would have got a child to perform the exercises. We would have recorded that child, and then we have a story app on the iPad to put the videos in. With the videos, then we have pictures and words around the videos as to what exercise or what action the child has to perform. So that's the video side of it. Then with the picture scheduling, we just have pictures of different segments of the exercise. So if it was a throwing, it would be where to throw the ball from and where to catch the ball from. And from that, then we just have Velcro stuck on the back of the pictures, and the children can pull and make up the story themselves, I suppose. And then with that, we also have a to-do and a done list, so the children can see that today this is what we have to do, and as we do the exercises, they can pull it off, put it on the done list, and then to see what's left to do and what we have done. So it's more of a timing thing for the children to see.
Structured routine, kind of.
Exactly, yeah. And I suppose it all comes from the children being in school, the routine that's there. They would be given picture schedules or PECs. And I suppose it's just trying to follow that sort of routine that might be in school or at home, and trying to bring, again, familiarity and routine into the exercise classes as well.
Yeah, that's right. And then how did you obviously did plenty of research before you started up this, because you would have to know all that stuff going into this, is that's research that's been out a while? Is it the whole structuring and the visual modelling and because obviously someone had to find out the hard way. That's how are we going to get this working?
Yeah, I suppose like when I did start 2 years ago, it was just nearly trial and error to see what would work. Some kids like the videos, some kids like the pictures, some kids don't like either. So it's trying to understand each individual case. So every child is different. I've seen a quote that if you've worked with one autistic child, you've only worked with one autistic child. They're not all the same. So I suppose when a child has come in here, it's down to communication with the parent to see, is that how the child is taught at home? Is there any sort of a reward scheduling that the child might like? So if the parent is bringing a child to get ice cream after the class, maybe that might be a way to try and incentivize the child to do exercise or to perform an action. Like I know it might not be the best way to do it, but if a parent is coming here and they want their child to do exercise, to have a reward at the end of the exercise program, it is nice for a child that they can do the exercise and then see a reward that they've done a good job.
Motivates them, at least.
Yeah, and like it's not just for children with autism. I suppose we're all motivated by something at the end of the day. Like if we're going to do exercise, you might say, well, I've done exercise this week, I'll have a takeaway on a Friday night. So it's your reward at the end. Yeah, exactly.
And can tell me, so how exactly does exercise help or impact children with autism, neurologically kind of?
Yeah, so like my research is on the behaviours and fitness levels, and it's an 8-week exercise intervention. So that's why I suppose I implemented the same kind of program in the Saturday exercise and autism classes. So like we've seen that stereotypical behaviours have been decreased in children with autism after the 8-week exercise intervention, and that's just what I'm doing. 8 weeks, yeah. Now, like, it's not going to change every child. Everyone is different, and each case will, in their severity, will differ as well. But like from the majority, and this has been done statistically as well, that their stereotypical behaviour changes, kind of social interaction improves, and that I suppose comes from, in my classes there's maybe 4 kids in the class, so they're interacting with other children in the class as well. In the schools we're working with 6 kids per class, so again they're working in 6s compared to some of the research that has been out there with children with autism, where it's been looking at a running program, so it's 1-on-1, horse riding, again you're on your own, swimming you're on your own, it might be dance, you might be in 2s maybe. So like a lot of the research out there at the minute has been done singly, whereas I suppose this is one of the first research projects, and I suppose the exercising classes to come out with a bigger number, so to try and improve the social interaction, and as we said, that was a problem. Yeah. So like there are 2 big areas that improves.
So at least so when you're doing an exercise here, and I'll probably ask you to run through it later on a little bit, but is it a one-on-one thing? Do they take turns, or like you said, are they interacting with each other while doing the exercise for most part?
So we try and get the parents involved as much as we can. So if a child, like I gave you the example of the balloon, if a child is keeping up the balloon on their own, we'll try then get them to hit it back and forth to their parent. And then if they've progressed from that, we can try and introduce a child then of the same age that can do or perform the task proficiently as well. So trying to interact that child. Like I haven't got to the stage in the exercise and autism class at the minute yet that we can progress some throwing objects. So like the end game for throwing would be dodgeball with soft spongy balls. So in the schools we've got to that end stage with the older kids. So first throwing into a target or into a bucket, then throwing to a partner, and then 2 sides playing dodgeball normally. So same game, throw, once you're hit you're out. So like that's where the end game is to get to, and every week we're going to try and progress it or push it out that we can get to there. So yeah, hopefully at the end or at some stage they'll be playing or interacting with children of
sports.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And is this just beneficial in terms of children? Like, can someone with because this is all kind of relatively new research, could someone who's 30 years old with autism, I understand a lot of people are diagnosed late as well.
Yeah.
Can they start doing these same social exercises? Would it have the same effect? Is there much research in it from an adult standpoint?
There's not as much research, no. But like my classes are looking at hand-eye coordination, coordination with jumping, running mechanics, I suppose, so running, jumping, throwing, catching and crawling. So if an adult with autism struggles with any of these areas, I suppose these games or actions would help. It's just that they might progress a small bit quicker through them. And like
the adults would?
Yeah, I think they would, yeah. Like if they've got to a stage in adulthood where they can get through a day or go through their normal day-to-day routine. I suppose like they could manage it, but they'll go through it a lot quicker. But it's just trying to progress the games and start from a point where they are at the minute. So like if it is that they can't catch, well then we'll try and coach catching, and then in a couple of weeks, well then maybe they might be out on the football field or playing basketball, you know.
Yeah, very good. And do you come across a kind of a lack of, I wouldn't say ignorance, but a lack of education based on what you're doing here when you tell someone, you know, what you're doing here at the moment? Like
the biggest thing I get from everyone is a kid won't be able to do 1 hour of exercise. Now, like when you come in, you'll see that it isn't 1 hour full on
running around.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a full hour. Like we have got our sitting time for showing the videos or the schedules or what's next. So it's not a full hour. At the end, we do 5 minutes of flexibility stretches. So that's the biggest thing I get is a kid won't be able to do it for an hour. Now, there are some kids that come in and they can't do the exercise for however long we're doing it for. Like most of the classes would range from 45 minutes to 50 minutes before the stretching. Like some kids can't actually do that amount of exercise. But as time goes on, they will be able to progress it and up their time to last the full class. And again, it's the same as ourselves. Like if you go to any sort of a class, give it a spinning class, you might not be able to do the full amount of spinning that everyone else has been doing that have been taking part in the class. But as time goes on, you'll build up your tolerance to it and you'll be able to last the full class. The children are the exact same. And like when people say to me about the 60 minutes, like it's recommended that children do 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous activity every day. And whether the child has autism or doesn't have autism, it's still the same.
We tend to forget about that, I think, you know, and that's the same for us. You know, it's the same for everybody, you know. I often say, you know, that I've said a few times in the podcast, you know, it should be as important as work, you know, or it should come first, you know, to get in your bed every day.
Yeah.
But especially for the kids, and it obviously helps if you're doing it and your kids are seeing you doing it, or, you know, leading by example in that way.
Yeah.
And I know as well, I was looking up a video online about similar to this. It was a child with autism, and they had him doing, you know, the Superman pose.
Yeah.
Where they're down on all fours and the right arm went up and the left leg went out, and they said it's very beneficial to work on both sides of the brain and development. Is that kind of the thinking behind the same exercises you do as well?
Yeah, I think I know actually where the video came from, or that video. I suppose that's more so muscle building. Mine would be more on the games based. That would be more one-on-one, and like I have no problem, I could do something like that with a child, and it would be beneficial to build muscle tone, because it is one area that children with autism, and I suppose a lot of children these days are lacking in muscle tone, but that's just down to society at the minute where it's going. I think in general, yeah, there are a lot of kids, I suppose video games are more so on the trend now, whereas when we were younger you were kind of told get outside and play in the muck.
Yeah, and I suppose your immune system is probably higher as well because of that.
Yeah, exactly. But like in here we are doing exercises, and I put up a video yesterday on Instagram with a ball squeeze and a jump, and that would be the muscle contraction. So it would be kind of similar to the exercise that you saw the video on. So we were doing working on two different things, so the jump and then a muscle contraction for the glutes, but that was just more so for jump and balance, so two things at once, and like you said, working on two sides of the brain.
Yeah. Do you have an age range?
For the classes that we're doing at the minute, we just tend to work with 4 to 12 at the minute. Now I have had a few requests for older. I haven't put too much thought or work into it at the minute.
Quite a big age range anyway, isn't it?
It is a big age range, yeah. And it's just, I suppose it's just coming from the primary school age. That's where we're working at. But as you get older, getting into the teenage years, like you're getting children who have autism that are bigger, both width-wise and height-wise, and are stronger. So it's down to more work and more prep behind the scenes for that, with trying to understand their triggers. I suppose if a child is to hit out at you, I've had chairs thrown at me, children spit at me. So things like that. If you have a bigger child, or a bigger teenager, it's just trying to, I suppose, understand where or what might trigger that behaviour. More down to a safety point of view for myself and any volunteers that are with me as well.
Yeah, and I imagine like that it can be difficult or challenging work for them reasons, you know. I talk on the podcast about the concept of truth, and I suppose that has different meanings for different people in some ways. Like it's kind of what I'm asking them is where they're getting their motivation from, doing what they're doing. I'm personally motivated by, you know, the kind of feel-good feeling of being healthy and running and eating well. Also, I've more motivated. I have a kind of more devout kind of Christian in the last few years, and I think that gives me a better, you know, motivation and appreciation for life and family and friends and things like that. So I'm just, what motivates you personally working with these children and probably in your own life as well?
Yeah, like with the children, just seeing a child come out of themselves, breaking that shell, like you wouldn't believe when a child comes in here first, they might be kicking and screaming. Now, some of them just come in here and they're very quiet. So again, they're different. But after a couple of weeks of that child knowing you and doing the exercises, just seeing them progress and open up. Like I had some children who would stand maybe 5-10 steps away from me when I started off with them first, and then coming towards in the schools at the end of the 8 weeks, they have me tying their shoelaces. And for me, that's, I suppose, it's the little things that count in this. From the research point of view, looking at their fitness levels and behaviour levels changing, and to see that I made this change for the child and it's improving them both academically in the classroom and improving then their fitness levels to, I hope, for them to carry on exercise and have a better quality of life later on down the line. That's kind of my whole motivation. Yeah,
pretty good. But you also have the Craig Coffey kind of fitness as well, also, where this is probably before you started up the autism, is that right?
It is, yeah.
And you, because I've seen you were kind of had GAA programs on it, and you were qualified in sports science, your background, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where can you tell me a bit about your own fitness?
Yeah, so like as a child growing up, like I done every sport possible. I actually can't remember spending too much time at home when we were younger. Saturdays or Sundays we're always out playing sport. Exactly, be it football, athletics, basketball, hurling, whatever was on, we were there. But as I went through the teenage years, then I kind of found my sport was athletics and high jump, and I suppose that was my love until I got injured. And when I did get injured, then I kind of just wanted to stick with the sport, and that's where I went into the sports science 4 years in IT Carlow. I suppose in second year I got involved with GAA teams, doing strength and conditioning. I was an assistant coach for strength and conditioning in second year, and then I kind of just wanted to do it myself third and fourth year, and since then I've been working with GAA teams. And I suppose again it's the same kind of principle behind it that motivates me, is kind of seeing from beginning to start, or from beginning to finish, kind of the improvements, and that's what motivated me first in my own sport, coming from a point where you might train 5-6 days a week and then being able to jump a certain height. You see an end goal, and then trying to improve on that week on week. Where can you kind of fit in more sessions, more time to try and improve the end goal?
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so you can kind of see where you're your process of thinking came from with it, you know,
Yeah.
coming from the athletic side. And you've also been involved in a couple of international conferences, haven't you, on the sports side of things and also on the autism side of things?
Yeah.
Can you tell me a bit about them?
So like they've all been for the autism. They have, sorry, yeah. But I suppose I'm trying to fit it into as many conferences as I can. So at this time last year, I was at the World Autism Conference. So that was specifically more so behavioural wise with my research, and that was in Texas. So I had a presentation. It was an hour long.
An hour long.
An hour long, yeah. It was a long presentation, and my first international one as well. At that, and then we also had a poster presentation. So I had my supervisor from college over there as well. So she took a small bit of the presentation off me. So it was a small bit easier than the hour. Then recently, we were in Orlando at the American College of Sports Medicine. So that was more the sport side of it, and trying to show that sport improves fitness levels in children with autism. So we had a poster presentation over there.
It's a big place, isn't it? Because I often see a lot of journal references coming from that.
Yeah. It's big enough now, so it is. So that was it was probably the longest conference I've been to. So it was 5 days, early starts, late finishes. So it's probably at the start of the Masters. It was the one to go to, and hopefully I can get back there in another 2 years anyway. So yeah, they've been 2 international ones. I suppose I was at Autistica as well in Reading, just couple of weeks ago. So that was pure autism conference. So another presentation for the effects on exercise on fitness levels and behaviour.
Is that a new concept?
It is relatively new. Like there are a lot of, I suppose, journal articles published on different sports or different activities, but there's not enough out there, and I suppose that's how the research has come about, and the research is still going, and how I'm progressing to the PhD, because there isn't enough research out there on exercise, and specifically what we're doing is the school-based exercise intervention, and it's a group intervention as well. Like I was saying, that most of the research out there has been done on single sports rather than in groups.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So you mentioned there that during your athletics you got injured. Mm-hmm. What injury did you pick up?
So I tore my patellar tendon. It was more of an overuse injury. So it's the tendon that goes from your quads over your kneecap and down into the tibia. So I tore, I think there was a 9mm, I think, tear in it. Now, I had PRP, which is a plasma-rich platelets injection. So basically take blood from your own body, spin it to get the plasma-rich platelets, and then inject it back into your knee to try and improve or increase the healing process. So I had that done twice. Now, I did actually get back from the injury, but ended up having other problems elsewhere in the body, ankles specifically. So I suppose trying to rehab back from them, continue on with college, the strength and conditioning work, the exercise and autism, it just, I suppose, something had to give. So that was the one thing. Just I couldn't commit enough time to training to such a technically sport with the high jump, different areas that you have to work on. Yeah,
I'd say it's impactful hitting the ground, even time after time. Or
yeah,
you said that with, bungee jumpers, how their knees give way, even though they're slowly hitting the ground. It's just the impact of coming down.
Yeah,
and I suppose we're fragile. I know. We're often looked at as the generation, we're a lot more fragile than they used to be. But I don't know if that's necessarily true, because when you think of, like we're saying, we're picking up all these injuries up, like from sports, and I know the importance of stretching and all that, but still you can still pick them all up. But like years ago, they still had the same injuries. You know, you think of an old farmer years ago, he didn't walk with an upright posture and like that. You know, a lot of people limped around the place and had beat up hands and, you know, bad arms and legs. Didn't live very long. You know, it's not as if we're more fragile than anybody else. You know, but I guess the sports science is great for that kind of thing. You know,
and
I myself had my right leg seized on me earlier in the year, and I was trying to train for the Ring of Kerry, and I went into a physio and she did the dry needling, and I don't know if it sounds like, you know, I thought it was my knee, but it actually was a muscle running from my thigh into my knee, and fixed it, you know, and I was fully convinced I'd done my knee in or something like that, but it wasn't. It was a muscle leading into there. It sounds like similar to, you know, your own, but the sports science helps an awful lot, because like if you went to a doctor years ago and said my knee's killing me, they would have been searching that for ages, where she's like, right, I think I know where it is, and it's actually the muscle leading into your knee, and this is a little specified needle, and she went in and hit the nerve and it reset the muscle, and I was away. I was running that weekend, you know. It's amazing what they, you know, can pick up. A lot of people think that sports science isn't that important, but it's doing amazing things, and it's helping people relieve you know, their pain is just going away, and they're able to run, able to get back to it. I had shin sprints for years. I could not do over 5 kilometres, and couldn't do 2 runs in a week because my legs were just, you know, shaking with the pain. And just between doing the proper stretching, you know, and getting, I had the muscle stripped out, you know, the physio, and you know, I can run 4 or 5 times a week, you know, and all of a sudden I'm improving, you know. But it is like it's so important for them kind of things, isn't it, sports science?
Yeah, and it's becoming a big area. Even if you look back at the All-Ireland hurling final, I think Shane Callanan referenced his athletics coach, and like just down to technical bits of running mechanics or movements, your strength and conditioning team, it's all becoming a big area of sport, and trying to get into the gym. That's nearly the big thing now, to try and become bigger, better, faster, stronger, and mentally prepare yourself for what you're going to do, I suppose, on the pitch, and that's the biggest thing at the minute, coming out. And there's a lot of strength and conditioning coaches, sports scientists.
I'm doing it myself now, sports conditioning.
Exactly, and like you're coming out, you're doing it at the right time, because there's a lot of jobs there, and I suppose there's a need for them now, and every team is going to have to go down this route to try and be as good as the Dublin teams that are there and are coming out.
Yeah, and I suppose like it helps longevity as well. You know, athletes who don't want to go around limping after 10 years of running on the road, or they can get their injury sorted straight away. We know what it is. We know how to fix it. We know exactly what you need to do right, and they're putting corrective measures in straight away almost. And it's helping people, not just sport athletes, like the likes of, you know, you were saying about even talking about the mechanics that you go through here, you know, the mechanics of running and things like that. You know, it's so important, even at the base level there, to learn that. Like, we weren't taught that, you know, growing up. Like, you know, I didn't know for a long time I was running incorrectly, or I was coming down heavy on my heel, or things like that. You know, they might sound like small things, but they affect you massively, you know.
Big time. And like, one of the things I love to bring out here in the class is the just footwork ladders, and when I show a video to parents or teachers, some of them look at the video and say, my child won't be able to do that exercise, or won't be able to perform that through the ladders, and then a couple of minutes later they're shocked the children can do it, and just that footwork, trying to I suppose plant the seed on getting the child to run or go quick through a ladder, and I suppose move the feet quicker, and take them up off the ground rather than standing on every ladder or standing incorrectly, I suppose. Yeah,
fair play. So you do it here a few times a week, is that right? And in the schools?
Yeah, so I'm here Saturdays twice a week. So there's 2 classes on a Saturday, and then so for the college, for me, for the masters or the PhD, I'm in schools 3 days a week, so Monday, Wednesday and Friday.
Okay, and so we're saying here, but it's actually it's the Slattery Industrial Estate, is this what it's called? Slatey, yeah. And I suppose you're also online on the Instagram and Facebook as well.
Yeah.
And maybe now you might be able to run through a couple of exercises you do. If I take the handheld camera, you can just run just a brief, so we can just visualise that ourselves, what you do here.
Yeah.
Wrap it up, yeah?
Yeah.
Fair play, appreciate you talking to me on it.
Well, thanks a million for having me.
Fair play, thanks a lot.
Thank you. So this one then is squash the cone. So basically I just want the children to jump with 2 feet onto each cone. We have a big problem with children will only step or jump on 1 foot. So this is just more of a visual and then a sensory thing to, I suppose, get their behaviour out if they want a bad behaviour and jump and squash the cone. And just going through every cone. And then we have some children that won't take a step and they'll just keep jumping through for the 3 minutes. So next one then is just balloon keep up.
Yeah.
So 3 things we tell the children is tip, tap and keep the balloon up. And I suppose it's to try and first get them to keep the balloon up themselves, hand-eye coordination, then to try and play with another child, and then hopefully we can introduce a volleyball type exercise. So just trying to keep the balloon up so they can stand first, and then we can get them moving around the room, keeping the eye on the balloon and trying to keep it up. And then we can progress it like with no hands, so I'll use knees or feet. So then another one is a jump with a ball squeeze. So ball in between the knee and then squeeze. So that's muscle contraction of the glutes. And then just some children can't jump, so we get them just to walk while squeezing the ball without falling out. And then other children will try and get them to jump as well as squeezing the ball and trying to go further with that.